Hi there, how's it going? So two things we've been really focusing on in class recently have been strength and movement. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those today. Before I do, I just want to say if you want more detailed instruction, then click the join button below to get details of our YouTube membership channel. What we do there is on a sort of pretty much every week, 10 days or so, we put up a topic as requested by our members, and we go into greater detail on really anything from kicks to ground movement to knives and stick work, mobility. Whatever our members ask us to do, then we'll put up a video or a series of videos for it. So just click join for that. Now, strength and movement, sometimes you see people separate these things out. They might go to the gym to get their strength training, then they might do some stretching or something else to get their movement. We like to keep everything combined together as much as we can, because of course we need mobility in our strength and we need strength in our movement. These two things together are what give us power. And the glue, of course, that binds all these things together is our breathing. So I was quite gobsmacked recently to see an apparently experienced martial arts instructor on YouTube describe breathwork as esoteric. Now, to me, breathing is just a basic function. It's just a basic bodily function like any other you could think of, and probably a couple you don't want to think of. So to describe something as basic to us and to our life as esoteric does seem a little odd to me. But it's very important, because I think to work without an understanding of breathing and tension in the body, it's a bit like driving a car without oil. So yes, you put petrol in and the car will go, but unless you change the oil or check the oil, what's going to happen? After a certain period of time, the engine is going to seize. And this is pretty much what happens to people who train without that breath work and that sort of similar understanding. They get to a certain age and their bodies have become so wrecked by their training, they can barely even do things like get up and down off the floor or rotate their shoulders beyond a certain distance, that kind of thing. And it always seems odd to me that you're training in self-defense, but the manner of doing that, you're actually injuring yourself and restricting yourself as well, because one thing you need in any situation is a certain amount of mobility. And then of course there's the health side of it as well. Why would you be training in something that's destroying your body? So that's just my thought anyway. I mean, I'm 60 next year. I'm as strong as I've ever been, and I'm still reasonably mobile and fit and active. And I put that down totally to this wonderful system we have of strength and movement and posture and breathing. Very important, especially as we start to get a bit older. But let's go back to our main topics, and we'll start with strength. Now in Systema we have a huge range of solo and partner exercises. If we look at solo exercises, then of course the base of our strength training are our core body movements, our push-ups, our sit-ups, our squats and leg raises. And even with those, when we start tweaking the breathing or changing the position of the hands or feet, or looking at varying the speed or the amount of tension and relaxation in the movement, we already have a huge range of movement that can go from quite simple and quite basic to very challenging. Of course you can use equipment as well if you're training solo. Some people like to use kettlebells, for example. I like to use the sledgehammer for part of my strength training, because again there's a lot of movement, and those movements map directly on to punching work as well. And I like these sort of exercises where we can see this direct connection between the exercise and the application. Coming out of that, there's a lot of partner training we can do as well. Your partner might be acting as a support, they might be acting to resist your movement, and anything in between. That can be working in pairs, or you can even do strength training in groups of up to 4 or 5 or so as well. So there's a huge amount of exercises available in Systema for building strength. But of course that strength has to be allied to our movement. We're not sacrificing mobility. This is not strength through tension, this is strength through having good supporting structure, strong joints and good posture. So we always need to keep those in mind when we're doing our movement or doing anything, come to that. So we have a range of solo movement exercises again. Ground movement is very good for working mobility. You can use things like a stick. There's a lot of movement work you can do with the stick. So solo movement is like our foundation, but if we want to get into application work, then of course we need to be working with other people, because I don't know of anyone yet who's managed to have a fight on their own. I suspect there's someone out there who can do it, but I've not met them. So when we start working with a partner, of course we're adding in all these other layers of awareness of distance, awareness of time, positioning, precision, how we apply our work and everything else. But what I'm going to do today is just run quickly through two quite basic drills. And one thing I want to explain with these drills, because sometimes people look at Systema drills and they think, oh right, so in Systema you allow the person to touch you with the knife and then you do this wibbly wobbly movement and that somehow gets you out of it. Well no, these are just preparation drills to develop particular attributes. And one way I like to describe these is time slices. Right, in any situation there's a timeline. So let's say a simple thing like someone's going to come up and is going to shove me. So this starts with him seeing me first, and there's something that triggers that feeling in him. He doesn't like my haircut or whatever it is, and he's going to come over and push me. So there's that first little slice of the timeline. We see that intention start. Then we get the movement towards me. Then we get the hands coming out. Then we get the contact with the push. Then we get me being pushed away, and then we get whatever goes on from there, and so on and so on. Now, if you're training self-defense, it's very good to slice your drills down into these timelines and understand what's happening in each part. Then, of course, you have to put all these timelines together, and you can start getting into your sparring or your testing or your scenario work. But it's a little bit like, if you understand what's happening at each point of that, and more importantly how to respond to it, then you've got a much better chance of dealing with the situation successfully. And obviously the sooner you're responding, the better. If you're waiting until you get punched in the face to respond, which, you know, we can all get caught out, but it's not the ideal time. Much better if I see the person over there, see the thing developing, and I can choose then to be engaged or to disengage and create distance. So two short drills at kind of opposite ends of the timeline almost. One is as we're being grabbed, one is as we see the knife threat developing. So bear in mind they're just restricted to those little sections, if you like, of this situation. But I hope they give you some ideas of how you can start working movement into your training. So the first movement drill, as I said, is working against the grab, and the idea of the drill is Andy comes to grab me and I move and escape. So as you see, I'm waiting for the grab to come on. I'm not waiting for it to come fully on here. Obviously you want to work from that point as well, and I'm not moving as is here. Of course we'll work from that point as well. For this particular time slice, I'm moving just as that starts to come on, then I'm going to escape. So this is primarily a movement drill, because obviously I want to be mobile enough to move. And what we're trying to do as well for this drill, in this particular case, is to avoid any type of kind of blocking movement or anything like this. I'm really working to get the body mobility to escape. So if I come to Andy, I come in, he's waiting to that point, I just sort of make contact and he's just moving out. Now your grab can be anywhere, you can grab legs, you can grab arms, anything else, and you can start to work it a little more continuous as well. So it's not working back against me, he's not trying to escape at this point or do anything, but he's just moving as I come in. So of course this is just the base level for this drill. You can speed it up, you can have two people onto one and everything else. Or what you can start doing, if we put in our earlier sort of sledgehammer work and strength we were talking about, is now as I escape I start applying the fist as well, and at this stage I'm just really pushing him. It's a very slippery surface here, which is good. So I escape, I place the fist and I push. So that's kind of the next level. So now you see how we start combining the movement and the strength together. And here, Okay, so I'll show you one more movement drill today. I'm going to go through this very quickly. And as I said, this involves the knife, and now we're at the other end of our time spectrum or time slice. So Alex, if you'd like to stand here. So we're working with a little bit of distance, and the idea now is you see a lot of knife defence that deals with this part, and people block and they grab the arm and they do various things. But what we're doing is coming back from that a little bit. And what Alex has got to do is, as he sees me start to make my move, he either creates distance or is moving in to position himself in such a way to make it difficult for me to follow up. So, for example, if I move like here, boom, and he's in. Now you see he's coming, he's on the outside of the knife, he's established a strong position, he's already starting to hit. So it's difficult for me to follow up movement from there. As we progress through the drill, we can add in more moves and everything else. But the base level is, the idea is, he's picking up my intention to move there. Okay? And we can come a little bit closer. You want the person to be kind of just outside of range. Yeah. Try not to stop, but you try and keep moving as well. Here, here. That's it. You don't have to punch me, please. Just keep moving. That's it. So what we're learning to pick up in this drill is that movement there. It might be that the knife is being drawn, it might be that the knife is being deployed, but that's where I start my movement. So that's the drill. As always, we can add in several other layers, but if I can learn to deal with the situation from this distance, as I said before, it gives me that much better chance of working than if we're in here and I've got to work from this, you know. Harder to deal with. Not impossible, but more difficult. Okay?
Maybe let's slip me for a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's all good.
He's got sweet light on.
Yeah.
So, strength and movement, both very important things. Train them in isolation to some extent, but also try and make sure that when you're training strength, there's mobility in it, and when you're moving with strength, or a better word is power. Again, that's a whole other subject. Maybe we'll look at that next time. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, then leave them below, or get in touch via our Facebook page. And again, if you want more detailed instruction, click the join button and sign up to our YouTube membership channel. Take care.